Hello out there and welcome to another Roll for Crit review. Today we are talking about Block Ness from Blue Orange Games, a competitive game in which each player has their own Block Ness Monster, kind of like the Loch Ness Monster but with a B in front of it. And Block Ness because it's all about blocking your opponents and trying to get your pieces out on the field and making sure they don't have as much of an easy time finding a spot to grow their little monster.
You will start off in the lock, which is the bottom half of the board, with each person getting their own starter piece. They are different lengths, but they are the same height, the lowest height. On your turn, you'll have the option to grow outward. Now, depending on number of players, you can place your pieces in the different colored rings. So if you're playing with the max 4-player count, you'll have the entire board to spread out. You will take one of the pieces in your color and place it next to either the head or tail. You will place it. Then you will remove the head piece or tail, depending where you decide to go, placing it on the opposite end of the piece you just placed. Once you have placed your piece, you'll move on to the next player, having them place a piece, and you'll keep going around until everyone cannot place any more pieces.
That's right. There are a few conditions as to exactly how and where you can add your pieces. As we said, it must go adjacent to either your head or tail that you previously had on the board. And of course, you have to be able to actually fit it. So you can't have like one end hanging off the board. That's not allowed. And you also can't place these in a weird diagonal position like that. It's got to be an exact perfect line like so. The other thing that's very important to consider is the height of the piece that you are placing. You can place a piece that goes over someone else's monster, not directly over their head or tail, but anywhere over any other segment of their body is fair game, but you can't go underneath any of their pieces. So if someone else had already placed this here, no one else could go like that and try to squeeze underneath. That's not allowed. Your monsters have to be crawling over each other. So what you're trying to do as the game progresses is probably start with your smaller pieces and work your way up to the bigger ones in the hopes that someone else is going to get stuck and get blocked and not be able to place any more of their pieces. Once that happens, they are out of the game. And once everyone has nowhere to put any of their pieces anymore, whoever has the most of their pieces on the board is the winner. If there's a tie, then it's whoever has the tallest head.
That's basically the game. You're going to be zipping and zagging, going over each other as you try to prove you are the best Block Ness monster. There are some variant rules that involve changing up where you can place the things, but it just makes things a bit more complicated, not really like adding a whole new component or anything.
Yeah, it is pretty much just a very simple game, as you can see. On your turn, you're just placing and going. Definitely has that abstract strategy kind of feel. And also, I think, very family, kid-friendly.
Oh, yeah.
Partially just because you have these awesome pieces that are really colorful and cute. And by the end of it, I feel like it looks like kind of this weird jungle gym or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like I want to go in. This was just like a little water park. Play around.
I almost feel bad that you can't put underneath just to try to get everything and see if I can make everything. I have yet to have a game when someone places all their pieces. Usually does end up with you being able to follow, which is fine. I think that's sort of the point of the game, right?
Yeah.
And I do think one thing that a lot of people have I've seen look at this and call it is multiplayer Snake. And I definitely see that. It's definitely trying to maximize your turns. The difference is when you're playing Snake, it's just you. So you can sort of just zigzag. This thing, I can be like, oh, I'm going here. Then you're like, I'm just going to place this here to block you,
Yeah, and I said before, like, you probably want to start small and work your way up so you don't get blocked out, but you might just decide, I don't know, turn 2, you know what? Here's just a big piece, and now everyone else has to work around that and deal with it.
Well, not only that, as you said, the tiebreaker is the head being the tallest. Sometimes you want to I'm just going to do that so my head's on the tallest piece.
Right.
Because I have to say, most of the games I played ended in ties. I don't think it was very likely that you had one person, like someone might be just really good at spatially being able to block everyone. But for the most part, I think most people were able to be like, I'm going to get all my pieces on the board. And maybe if there was a win, it's like one piece. It's possible, of course, but I don't think you're going to have to be worried about like someone just being eliminated from the game, turn 2.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the skill level of your players. But if you're playing with, not kids, then probably everyone will roughly get the same amount of pieces out there until, I don't know, maybe you develop some weird meta strategies later on and get really good at it. But it is very, it can be like a really tense game, especially not a full player count when the board is even smaller, because you'll find that pretty quickly the game lasts maybe 15 minutes or something. You're going to be running out of spaces and you're like, man, where should I go? So even though it's not like the most challenging game in the world, you are going to have, I feel like every turn feels like a tense decision of being sure you place it well.
It is fun because you're thinking like, oh, and then when you find that right piece, and this is probably one thing that's a little bit annoying you'll come across while playing this, is you'll take a piece and you're like, I think this is 4 holes long. You're like, oh no, wait, that's 5. And you're like, everyone's going to be like, okay, yes, that's the length I think it is. Which, I mean, cause a little bit of issues. But even with that and whatever can go on, this is not a long game. So this is one of those games you can easily get like, 3 games into a normal game length compared to something else.
Yeah, make it a best of 2 out of 3, perhaps. And it uses the box to hold all the pieces, which is great. We always like that. It's a very, very efficient use of materials.
Crits and misses for Block Ness.
Crits. The games are quick, but there's a lot of tension in every match as the board quickly fills up with pieces and you're struggling to find a place to put yours.
Block Ness definitely falls into the category of games that you can play multiple rounds of in one sitting, and you'll have a blast for each one.
Playing around with the different lengths and heights of the pieces creates for a unique and engaging experience, and it also allows for a lot of interesting forms of player interaction trying to maneuver around the other player's pieces.
You're going to dip, dive, and dodge as you try to efficiently place your pieces and hopefully block your opponents as they try to place theirs as well. Misses. The components are great, but unfortunately, sometimes you can't be exactly sure how long they actually are on the board. There's going to be a lot of times when you're placing the pieces and measuring them and be like, oh, wait, this was a 3, not a 4, and can be a little confusing at times when you thought you did have the piece you needed next turn.
When they're all in a pile in front of you, the pieces of your monster look pretty similar, and it's not always the easiest thing to plan ahead and make sure you have the pieces you need for when you need them.
We had a lot of fun playing this game, but there won't be that many different strategies you can do between matches. Odds are, once you've played enough games, you're going to end with a lot of games ending in ties.
If you play the games a few times and you're more of a seasoned gamer, it can start to feel like one of those old school games like tic-tac-toe or dots and boxes where you kind of know how it's going to end up, and after a handful of games, you might get tired of it.
This is not the most complex game, and honestly, I'm happy for that. I think it makes for a fantastic family game. It's simple. You use the box there. These pieces are so much fun. It's definitely got that toy-like experience in there. And it still has some really great, hilarious moments when you're looking, you're like, oh no, I'm blocked in. You're like, I'm fine as long as you. And then the person, of course, puts the one piece and you're like, oh, of course you did.
Yeah, I think I'm not quite as enthusiastic as you maybe. I think if you have kids, then 100% buy this. I think the pieces are really fun. I love the concept of the height. I think it's really cool. If you are like in your 20s or older, I don't think you need this game. I think it's fine. It'll be fun for a little while, but for all the other things that are on your shelves right now, I think this is really best as a family game, in my opinion. I think that's what it's aiming for,
yeah,
too.
And that's fair. This is not, I think, catering to your Twilight Imperium crowd, your 4-hour-long games. But I still do think it's got a lot of clever design aspects. I mean, I still don't think we have explored verticality enough in board games.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And obviously, as a family game, simple, kids are going to have a lot of fun playing with it. They might just play around with the pieces, like not even play the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get like a 3-year-old could just play with this and have a great time.
And I think playing the game with them, though, you won't feel like you're being forced to do something that's just brain dead. I still think you're going to have fun playing the game with them.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. The game is called Block Ness. I mean, you've seen it shown off. It's cute, it's colorful, it's fun, very original kind of a game. And it's out there right now if you want to try it, or maybe you've tried it already. Then you could leave a comment in our comments section below the video and let us know what you think of the game. Have you found fun with it? Are there maybe different strategies or techniques that you've discovered late into the game? Maybe it has deeper gameplay than I'm giving it credit for. I don't know. People can let us know.
Let us know how deep this lock goes.
There you go.
Until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit. Hey there, thank you so much for watching our video. Please, if you can, hit that like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And check out our Patreon. There we have a lot of cool stuff, including a Discord and a second part to our podcast. If you just want to hear the free one, don't worry. You can check out our board game podcast, which releases weekly, in the links down below.